the fish who wanted to climb trees. Finn was, by all accounts, a perfectly ordinary fish. He had shimmering scales of blue and silver, a graceful tail fin, and lived in a vibrant coral reef teeming with life. Yet Finn harbored a secret ambition, one that none of his fellow fish could comprehend. He wanted to climb trees. It wasn't a sudden whim. For as long as Finn could remember, he had watched the birds that soared above the water's surface, their colorful plumage flashing in the sun as they perched on the ancient, gnarled mangrove trees that lined the shore. He saw squirrels scamper up trunks, monkeys swing from branches, and even tiny insects navigate the leafy canopies. The world above the water seemed a place of endless possibilities, a stark contrast to the familiar, albeit beautiful, confines of his aquatic home. "Don't be silly, Finn," his mother would gently chide, fanning her fins. "Fish belong in the water. It's where we're safe, where we breathe, where we find our food." His friends, a school of energetic clownfish, would often tease him. "Still staring at those big green sticks, Finn? When are you going to realize we're meant for swimming, not flying?" Finn would just sigh, a tiny stream of bubbles escaping his gills. He knew they meant well, but their words did little to dampen his fascination. He spent hours near the water's edge, gazing at the reflections of the trees, imagining what it would feel like to feel rough bark beneath his fins, to see the world from a towering height. One sunny afternoon, while particularly engrossed in watching a kingfisher dive for a snack, Finn felt a gentle nudge. He turned to see a small, green frog with intelligent, bulbous eyes peering at him from a floating lily pad. "Lost in thought again, little fish," croaked the frog, his voice surprisingly deep. "You're always staring at the trees." Finn, startled, quickly composed himself. "Oh, hello. Yes, I suppose I am. I wish I could climb them." The frog let out a thoughtful ribbit. A fish who wants to climb trees. That's a new one. My name's Ferdinand, by the way." "I'm Finn," he replied, feeling a strange sense of hope bubbling within him. Ferdinand didn't laugh or tell him it was impossible. "Tell me, Finn," Ferdinand began, hopping onto a larger lily pad, "why do you want to climb trees so much?" Finn explained his fascination, his longing for a different perspective, a world beyond the water. Ferdinand listened patiently, occasionally flicking his long tongue to catch a passing fly. "It's a grand dream," Ferdinand finally said. "And while I agree, dear Finn, that fish aren't naturally equipped for arboreal adventures, perhaps there's a way." Finn's eyes, wide with disbelief and excitement, focused intently on the frog. "A way? Really?" Ferdinand nodded. "It won't be easy, and it will require some ingenuity. But I've observed many things in my life, and one thing I've learned is that where there's a will, there's often a way, even for a fish with an unusual dream." Over the next few days, Finn and Ferdinand became an unlikely pair of collaborators. Ferdinand, with his knowledge of the land and his nimble fingers, became the architect of their plan. Finn, with his unwavering determination, was the inspiration. "First," Ferdinand announced one morning, drawing diagrams in the mud with a twig, "we need a way to get you out of the water safely and keep you moist. And then we need a way to move you upwards." Their solution was surprisingly simple, born from Ferdinand's keen observation of human contraptions he'd seen near the village. They would build a pulley system. Ferdinand gathered strong, flexible vines from the jungle. Finn, in turn, rallied some of his bolder friends to help collect sturdy, broad lily pads. The clownfish, initially skeptical, became intrigued by Finn's unwavering belief. Together, they fashioned a small, makeshift basket from several overlapping lily pads, reinforced with intertwined reeds. Ferdinand expertly tied the vines, creating a loop and a sturdy handle for the basket. "This," Ferdinand declared, proudly presenting their creation, "is your ascent vessel, Finn." The biggest challenge was getting the vine over a suitable branch. After several attempts, Ferdinand, with his sticky toes and powerful leaps, managed to secure the vine over a low-hanging branch of a particularly sturdy mangrove tree. The day of the ascent arrived. A small crowd of curious fish had gathered, along with a few other frogs and even a shy turtle. Finn, his heart thumping with a mixture of fear and exhilaration, approached the lily pad basket. Ferdinand had instructed him on how to stay inside, and with a deep breath, Finn wriggled himself into the makeshift carrier. A few of his clownfish friends splashed water into the basket to keep him wet, their earlier teasing replaced by genuine concern and excitement. Ferdinand, positioned on the branch above, gripped the vine with his strong forelegs. "Ready, Finn." "Ready." Finn chirped, his voice barely a whisper. With a mighty tug, Ferdinand began to hoist the basket. Slowly, inch by agonizing inch, Finn rose out of the water. The air felt strange against his scales, dry and cool, but the lily pad provided enough moisture to keep him comfortable. He felt a thrill surge through him as he cleared the water surface, then the roots, and then slowly ascended towards the leafy canopy. He gasped a silent, internal gasp as he reached the first broad branch. The world was utterly transformed. Below him, the water stretched out like a shimmering, emerald carpet. He could see the intricate patterns of the coral reef, the schools of fish darting about like living jewels, and even the tiny ripples created by the wind. The familiar world of his home now looked like a beautiful, miniature painting. Finn felt the gentle sway of the basket as Ferdinand adjusted the vine. He peered upwards, through the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves. The bark of the tree, so impossibly distant before, was now right beside him, rough, textured, alive with tiny mosses and lichens. He could hear the rustle of leaves, the chirping of unseen insects, and the distant song of a bird. It was everything he had imagined and more. The air smelled different, earthy and green. A tiny beetle scuttled across the branch, completely unfazed by the fish hanging nearby. Finn felt a profound sense of awe and wonder. He wasn't just seeing the trees anymore. He was part of them, even if only for a brief moment. "How is it, Finn?" Ferdinand croaked from above, a knowing smile on his face. It's magnificent, Ferdinand," Finn exclaimed, his voice filled with pure joy. He watched a squirrel bury an acorn, saw a butterfly with wings like stained glass flutter past, and felt the gentle caress of a breeze that he'd never known existed. He saw the world not as a fish from below, but as a creature of the air and earth, even if only in spirit. After a while, knowing he couldn't stay out of the water indefinitely, Finn signaled to Ferdinand. Slowly, carefully, the frog lowered him back down. He splashed gently back into the water, feeling the familiar coolness envelop him. His friends rushed towards him, their eyes wide with excitement. From that day on, Finn was still a fish of the water, but he carried with him the memory of the trees, a broader perspective, and the knowledge that true limitations were often only in the mind. And sometimes, if you were lucky, a clever frog and a pulley made of lily pads could help you reach for the sky.